Welcome to the 499th episode of the Jami Dulaney Plant-Based Wellness Podcast. My name is Jami Dulaney, and I'm your host. I'm a plant-based cardiologist and endurance athlete living in Southwest Florida. Welcome and thank you for listening. I hope you all had a very happy Thanksgiving. I know I did. I got to spend it with my family in Houston, Addie and Nathan and Cecilia. I want to call her by her nickname, as Caleb calls her, Girly. My grandson Caleb and Michael, and we had a great time. Had some great food, did a little running. Everything is great. Training for 50K, kind of a practice 50K run, December 21st, just in 2 weeks, to get ready for the long haul 100 at the end of January. So still a go on all of those things. So working the mileage back up, doing my strength training. I am in, I think, the third program. We're going to a 3-week program, 3-week intervals, and then Nathan recycles it for me again. And I've actually gone down to 2 days a week since I'm going to start bumping my volume up in running so that I can get a pretty good recovery for weekend long runs. So far, so good. I'm pretty sure I'm his favorite mother-in-law, especially since I'm his only mother-in-law, but he's been giving me some crazy animal moves, which are kind of fun. Bear crawls, lateral bear crawls, alligator crawls, gorilla crawls. It's very, very interesting. Very good for mobility, and it actually came in very handy. I think my cat got sick. I don't exactly know the cause, but I think he drank Christmas tree water. We put our Christmas tree up this week, and he was hiding under the bed, and I needed to get him out to check on him and take him to the vet, and I had to do some of the alligator crawl maneuvers and various things to get back and forth under the bed to get him out. So mobility has a way of showing up when you need it. So don't skip out on your mobility work and try some of the different crawls if you haven't. The last podcast I talked about Thanksgiving and eating healthy and showcasing healthy foods, but obviously a lot of people aren't on a plant-based diet and eat traditional foods, but traditional foods have taken even a turn for the worse. I was at a home where there were lots of people gathered around for a Thanksgiving, friends and family gathered for Thanksgiving that wasn't plant-based at all. We ate our food separately before we went over to visit and socialize. And we had a great time socializing, not indulging in the food. But I noticed something different than what I'm used to over the years. And my Thanksgiving in the past has been, you cook and then everybody sits down and has a meal, and that's pretty much how it goes. And, everything is kind of plated, or everything is actually in dishes, and we plate at the table. And there's usually a moment to observe what the food is, and when you're eating. But when people, if they're having a lot of people over, and these days you can actually buy whole Thanksgiving meals, and sometimes it becomes easier, I suppose, to buy food as opposed to prepare yourself, especially, maybe when you want to just hang out with your friends or in family, or just don't have the bandwidth to do all that cooking. But it's so much worse than if you cooked even a traditional Thanksgiving yourself as to do the takeout variety. The local grocery store in Florida, Publix, would have you believe that, everything looks really nice and in small dishes and people sit around. But in essence, there is the ability to very easily accumulate a tremendous amount of high calorie dense, high fat options that contain loads of sodium and are very risky to put people's blood pressure over the edge and even put people into heart failure. And, I've seen it over the years, but looking at some of the food over the holiday, I, can't help but wonder how nobody could go through what I saw and not gain weight. And probably, I would say a lot of people go through the holidays and they hide their scale someplace, so they're not really checking in, which is not a good thing, because then they're really surprised after the new year when they wonder what happened when it happened. But the risk of heart failure and so forth is there as well. And I think sometimes people just give up and then they just keep going through the holidays. So I kind of wanted to, talk about one thing that I saw, as far as this was a Costco mac and cheese. And I think mac and cheese is a southern Thanksgiving food more so than, up north. And, mac and cheese is a comfort food. It's a way to feed a family on little money in the past. You think Kraft mac and cheese or make your own. My grandmother used to make Velveeta and, macaroni that was in milk. That was the way it's made. But when large corporations get involved to make money and to attract taste, they make it even goopier. And Costco makes a mac and cheese that it was actually very difficult to find the ingredients. I guess it was recently released. The nutrition facts were available when I dug a little bit, but nothing was really easy to find. And again, it goes again that when you purchase things, you have no idea sometimes what the ingredients are, especially if you do purchase restaurant food or perhaps food from a deli. That sticker, you can never read the ingredients. Of course, if you're buying something as goopy as macaroni and cheese, you probably don't want to know the ingredients. I don't know. But nevertheless, I did find it. The Costco macaroni and cheese, for 3.7 pounds, it is $3.49 a pound, which is $13 for a relatively small tray. And it is made of 3 kinds of cheese: cheddar, Parmesan, Romano cheese, butter, cream, milk, flour, little paprika, and of course, macaroni noodles. A lot of people would say that macaroni and cheese would be a carbohydrate, but if you look at the nutrition, for that, a 4.5 ounce serving, so tiny bit more than a half a cup, 290 calories. There were 18 grams of fat, 50 milligrams of cholesterol, 10 grams of protein, 1,000 milligrams of salt, and only 1 milligram of iron. If you looked at the percent fat in that dish per serving, you would take 18 times 9, which is 162, divided by the 290 calories, which is 56% fat. So per serving size, it's 56% fat. So even a standard American diet, that's 35%. This is over the top. Again, the 1,000 milligrams of sodium is very, very scary. And that was, somewhat of a small tray, 3.7 pounds that I could find online. The tray that I viewed was probably at least 2 or 3 times that. And, obviously nobody measures a serving size during the holidays. It's a scoop and maybe more scoops, and then, add stuffing, turkey, pie, cake, chips, all that kind of stuff on. The caloric density really skyrockets of the meal. And it seemed to me that it was just food. It wasn't special because nobody really worked hard to get it. To make it. It was just picked up. So it was just eating. It was not savoring at all. It wasn't looking at your plate and being appreciative for those who made it, or the struggle when somebody makes a big dinner and the pride that you can get for cooking for people. It was just a lot of food that people ate without paying much attention to what they were eating. It filled them up. It served a purpose. And really the get-together was the biggest. It was center stage for that particular group of people. It wasn't the food, but because the food was like it was, it was much worse. So people talk about, I'm going to miss turkey, or I'm going to miss this, or I really like that. But when you're just eating to eat, it doesn't really matter. It's the fellowship of being together that's what's important. Or the atmosphere that you're in when you have a gathering. there are catalogs that come out this time of the year with, again, you can order just about anything. And my mother used to be one for catalogs, and they still come to my house of all the different things that you can order that come frozen, and all you have to do is heat them up, including vanilla bourbon bacon lollipops. So basically, bacon on a stick, mozzarella cheese covered asparagus, bacon wrapped scallops, barbecue pork biscuits are just a few of the things in this book that are made into very, very fancy looking little appetizers that pack a wallop of calories. And I looked at this stuff, and it's like, can you imagine? Of course, then you get to the back and you get to the cheesecake, or you can order soups, which will be, tremendously high in salt. So you can order those for people. So you can send heart failure in the mail to somebody if you want. But if you're going to a party and you're serving these, you would look really cool if you had these on display. But you could just pop these like popcorn and, eat 10 or 12 grams of salt and I don't know how many calories in just hors d'oeuvres. And this is what the holiday season has become. How do you make things as goopy as you possibly can to overindulge? And again, goes back to it. Most of it is really about the fellowship of being with your friends and family, not to actually have a party to see who can eat the most. But when you're not paying attention, all this stuff starts to add up. And the only way around it is to be a hard no, actually. This magazine, and I'll just say it was because they're certainly not listening to this podcast, but it's called Mackenzie Limited. And there's not one, well, there actually is a fried spring roll that you can order out of there, which would be nothing that you couldn't get at a grocery store. But everything in this catalog is calorie dense, high sodium, high fat. And, it just goes on and on about the trouble that you can get in. On the other hand, you can change this and make hors d'oeuvres and make whole meals that are actually healthy for your friends and family that are also quite good. And instead of looking at, I can't have this cheesecake or I can't have this bacon on a stick, it should be, I get the opportunity to create a really pretty display of food that is actually healthy. The worst case scenario is nobody's going to pay attention to it anyway because they're just eating while they're talking and not paying attention to it. It's not like people are actually coming to look for the food. For the most part, people just want to share food with each other. So why not share some healthy food and do some, hors d'oeuvres that are very healthy. You can make spinach dip without Philadelphia cream cheese. You can make even an artichoke dip without dairy or cheese. You can make a cheese without cheese. Stuffed mushroom caps without cheese, but you can make them healthy. There's no way you can make an eggplant bacon if you wish, but the reality of it is, just skip that part, I would say. Stuffed shells is always, part of our holiday table. But there's a variety of things that you can make if you just think about it. And it is much more fun to prepare things at home and celebrate with people than to just, kind of get takeout and you have no idea what it is. And I don't know. To me, it just takes the oomph out of it, of sharing something with someone if I didn't think any more than to just go buy it and throw it out in a bunch of foil trays. To me, it's about sharing something that I have made with them in mind. So make a menu, make a list. And, we have a running list that we use from year to year to year for our holiday get-togethers. And, we're very aware of the ingredients. Is it completely healthy as far as, is there more nuts as far as the cheese has some nuts? Yeah, there's some more nuts as far as that goes. There may be, a little sugar here and there, but not over the top. And again, a lot of vegetables and presentations of vegetables and fruit in such a way that, again, people come away feeling good about it. if you go to a party where there's a bunch of hors d'oeuvres and you're standing around and picking here and there, you have no idea what you're actually consuming, nor do you in a buffet type situation. My grandmother used to say that my Aunt Ann could eat more than a toothpick than a grown man could with a fork and knife, because she could go around the table and she'd say, "I'm not hungry," and then she'd pick at this and pick at that with a toothpick, and end up eating a tremendous amount of food without ever sitting down. And she's not alone. We end up having mashed potatoes and mushroom gravy, stuffing balls, lima beans, a C10 roast, cranberry salad, and pumpkin pie for our Thanksgiving dinner. The leftover potatoes that we had, I made into potato cakes with kale and mushroom the next day. So I used a little bit of gravy that was left over, chopped up some kale, and made balls and dry fried them in a skillet. And we had that as part of our next day type of venue. To make something simple. But, the beauty about eating plant-based is that it's not that hard, and you don't have to necessarily cook all day. Of course, the more people you have and the more different things you make, you may be doing that. But for the most part, you can make a simple dinner like I just described without starting too much in advance. Don't be fooled that, doing a 5K turkey trot that burns off 300 calories in any way, shape, or form gets close to a traditional Thanksgiving or the traditional holiday party. It doesn't. You'd have to run an ultra marathon without fueling to kind of keep up with those calories. But I do think it's all about mindset. When you approach things as I can't have it, or I have to give this up, or I'm not allowed, or sometimes see people even tell you you're not allowed this, or it's not on your whatever, it makes it sound much more negative than it actually is. The reality of it is you're choosing health over a simple indulgence, but you have the opportunity to choose. You don't have to eat this way. You're choosing an outcome that's health versus again, short dopamine burst with a bunch of high-fat food. Eating plant-based or any kind of diet type of situation will never work unless you see it as a positive and not as a negative or a temporary fix so that you can go back to your old ways. It's a lifestyle change that you embrace and you look forward to and find things that you really like and take pride in making them and presenting them. And it can be really, really fun. It's the same thing as your movement and exercise programs. I get people that come into the office and they say, my wrist still hurts, but they're not doing their physical therapy exercises after they've had their surgery. They're not walking as much as they should, which means they're not walking at all. Their shoulders don't work like they should, but they're not doing any range of motion exercises. And they come to the conclusion that they're in pain and it's never going to get any better, so why bother? Why bother is very common. But on the other hand, you can use a health diagnosis to make a great positive change, an opportunity. Turning that obstacle, there's a book, The Obstacle is the Way, but turning that obstacle into an opportunity and making a game out of it, fun and beating the odds. I hear story after story where someone's told that they're never going to be able to do blank, yet they go ahead and do it. And it was almost as if being told that they couldn't made them more determined to do it and beat the odds. But if someone bought that you'll never be able to, and you just accept that, well, it's never really going to turn around. And, it's how do you change a bad situation into an opportunity or into a positive situation? And there always is some lining that you can come up with in order to make a health journey a better choice and a more positive choice. Even if it's just fun and beating the odds against you. What do I need to do to not take blood pressure medications? What's my plan and how do I implement it? My knees hurt when I go upstairs. Do I avoid stairs, or do I figure out what that movement is and how do I strengthen my knees so that I can go upstairs and measure how many stairs I can go up, and make it a game how many flights of stairs I can get, or maybe go down, or what's my form going up or down. When I do something and it hurts, it's a very broad definition. What is the something? How am I actually doing that something? Do I have a form that may be making matters worse? Or if there's something outside of that, what's making matters worse? When I start to have some back issues, it doesn't usually start in my back. It usually starts down lower. So it could be in my calf or my hip, where I'll feel this tingling, and I don't want it to be my back, but often it is. And so the quicker I address the root cause, the quicker I can get things back under control. But failing to address them, it's not really going to change anything. It's not going to make it better just by hoping that it goes away. I think we drop the ball terribly as a medical community when we talk to people about what they can't do instead of what they can do. Because we all know, whether you're a health professional or not, people that have beat the odds and have done very well despite a terrible diagnosis. And instead of presenting those success stories, we're more afraid that people will be disappointed if it doesn't work for them. But the question is, what if it does work? And what if it would have worked and we didn't try it? I think is the biggest, so I do believe that is one of the worst things we do as a medical community. You hear it over and over again. My doctor said I couldn't, I wouldn't be able to, this will never work. Get your affairs in order. You only have 6 months to live. And people defy those odds all the time, not because they're just defying the odds, but because their mental attitude is such that they don't accept that. And they have a plan and they follow their plan and things work out. I just finished listening to Chef AJ's latest podcast, revealing her recent lung cancer diagnosis. It is by far the best podcast that Chef AJ has ever done. My heart goes out to her. My thoughts and prayers are with her as she proceeds down this health journey. She was reluctant to share because she thought people would throw in the towel of eating healthy when they found out that somebody eating healthy, could have such a diagnosis. Was it worth it? Should we just eat what we want because cancer is going to get us anyway? That's not obviously her approach. She continues to eat healthy food because that's what she enjoys and feels better eating, and knows that, perhaps that has made things better. Who knows? But one of the things that she shared was the journey of her finding her diagnosis out. And again, it's a story I hear over and over and am appalled by the lack of empathy and communication physicians and physicians' office have with people. Her diagnosis was, as a text message or email correspondence, rather than somebody picking up the phone and talking with her or having her come in to talk to her about her diagnosis. Her treatment or her diagnosis was delayed, partially because of insurance, partially because of finding somebody that would take on her case. And again, the details I'm not privy to at all, nor is it my place to share, but I was appalled at the lack of desire for the medical community to help her and help her get to a diagnosis and get to a plan, and present it in such a way and support her through a very, very difficult diagnosis. The medical community, as far as I'm concerned, other than the plant-based doctors that she knows, Dr. Goldhammer and then formerly Dr. McDougall, passed away, but Dr. Lyle and other physicians that the plant-based community who have supported her, but the traditional allopathic medicine doctors completely failed her. I hope that's not going to be the case in the future. I think she has enough people in her corner to help her navigate the waters, but it was totally embarrassing and very sad to hear, how she's had to fight her way through things so far. And it's not It's not uncommon. It's way too common. People don't have allopathic physicians. I heard a story where a hospice patient was being transported to a dermatologist's office for itching, an elderly patient with dementia. First of all, the primary care people in facilities that they should be ashamed of themselves for not being able to take the time and figure out what is causing the itching in an elderly demented patient and take care of it there without having the patient to have to be transported to a dermatology facility. People that can't get in to see a physician months out because the physician's office are too crowded with doing unnecessary testing and unnecessary wellness checks on people that shouldn't be there, that don't have a problem. The idea to go to the doctor is if something is wrong and you need immediate treatment, not to, because we know this early diagnosis, physicals to try to do preventative care. It's not that's not what prevents disease. Lifestyle changes is what prevents disease. It's not about early testing to find something so you can treat it early. That's not panned out in any way, shape, or form. It just makes money for the doctor. So, getting your yearly carotid or your yearly this or your yearly that only puts money in the doctor's pockets and the insurance companies, and makes people feel good that they're doing something. But when people actually need it, they're not available to take care of them. And that is an utter shame. And especially in the diagnosis of cancer, when people don't have or take the time to talk to people about the various different options and therapies and ancillary therapies, and not poo-poo them. So hats off to all the people supporting Chef AJ as well. Again, thoughts and prayers for her on the diagnosis. But I think that's where we drop the ball over and over again. And most of my practice is about preventing people from having harm done to them by other physicians. It's not that the doctors are out to hurt them, but it's either neglect, lack of empathy, or failure to think and just follow some silly protocol that results in harm. Being treated with a medication, I stop more medications than I start, because often people come to me and they've changed their diets or their lifestyle and their blood pressure is low, but they're still on blood pressure medicine and they feel awful. Their cholesterol is so low that it's probably causing harmful effects, and they're on medicine that are causing muscle aches and adult onset diabetes. But nobody wants to stop the medications because we weren't taught to stop things. And it's very disheartening when I hear stories like that. And again, our office, a lot of people think that, well, why have a wellness doctor? Why have a plant-based physician? I feel healthy. But it's basically having someone in your pocket to protect you from things that happen, that don't need to happen, to navigate waters if they do happen, and be objective as opposed to just following these protocols that don't make any sense or not individualized. We're individuals, and no two people respond the same to medication. And every therapy is not right for every person, and there are multiple therapies as opposed to traditional menus of therapies that are passed down to ancillary care to initiate. And certainly bad news shouldn't be delivered over the phone, a text message or an email, or to find out on my chart on a weekend and not be able to talk to anybody. It's absolutely ridiculous, and people shouldn't stand for it. I think, again, we've been trained to sit in lines, stand in lines, sit in lines, and people go and sit in offices for hours on end to see a PA for 10 minutes. And if you were to go on the chart, you would look in the chart and see that, the hours, their extra minutes you were billed for was basically just some chart being left open and the clock running. So it's very disheartening, and I would, say to anybody out there that you are worth being seen on your appointment time. If it's 10 o'clock, your appointment, you should be seen at 10 o'clock, not at 12. not 10:30. If some emergency comes up, you should be given the opportunity to reschedule. Your time is valuable, my time is valuable, and that's the way it should work. And you're worthy of being able to discuss your issues as long as they need to. And again, there is a mind-body connection, and how we approach disease needs to be not only, some traditional treatment plan, but how do you get your mind about a diagnosis? How do you get your mind around it? How might your mind, which actually controls a lot of your autonomic nervous system, help you in actually getting better? So we're dropping the ball a lot in traditional medicine, and again, that's what we're trying to do in our practice, is right that wrong for people that have interest. So if you have a diagnosis and you feel like you're left out in the cold, and you want to talk about different therapies that are out there, we do consultations as well as you can become members of our practice. But I think that's one of the things I enjoy most about what I do, is to be able to talk to people at length and find out what their goals and aspirations are, and how might we take your health to that step, and what's right for you, and help you to navigate what therapy might be right for you, as opposed to just slapping on a protocol that everybody gets. There's a big push to screen people to do early diagnosis, and of course one of the most lucrative and ordered tests are either calcium scores or CT angiograms for coronary artery disease. And a recent study looked at coronary CT screening in asymptomatic adults with diabetes to see whether or not it lowered mortality or infarction. And in the follow-up, it didn't. Just because you have a diagnosis doesn't mean it's going to impact your mortality and even your morbidity. The idea would be to treat the diabetes by weight loss and exercise so that it no longer becomes a risk. If you treat diabetes with weight loss and exercise and a plant-based diet, eating nitric oxide producing foods, you don't have to worry about a heart disease. If you're 65 or older and you've lived a standard American diet, or you have a diagnosis of hypertension or diabetes, there is a good chance that you have coronary artery calcium or plaque, at least 20-30%. It's very few people, I do know some, but there are very few people that don't have a little bit of plaque in their arteries, having lived a life that long, being exposed to toxins and foods and everything else. But what happens to that is entirely up to you, and there's no test that's going to change that. Early intervention doesn't change that in an asymptomatic person. Diet and exercise does. So it's the feeling that we get of being safe because I had a test that may or may not have shown anything bad or not too bad doesn't really do anything to predict the future. We're really lousy at predicting the future as physicians. So if you hear anybody predicting your future, you need to run the other direction. 6 months to live, 5 years of this, whatever. And we're really lousy at it because there are too many variables and people are individual. And again, what can I do today to make my health better? Not worry about the future of a future heart attack or a future cancer. What can I do today to make my health better? And that's a good way to go into the holidays. What can I do today to make my health better and make choices better? And then that comes down to preparing foods that are good for you, good for your family, good for your friends, exercising all through the holidays, but also having a mindful approach and appreciating. Wonder if this is your last Christmas or your last New Year's. Take a time to enjoy the moment. I have to say that being a grandparent is one of the greatest things, mainly because of the calm. When I'm visiting Addie and her husband and holding my 9-month-old granddaughter for a couple hours while she falls asleep, there is nothing in the world more peaceful. There's nothing in the world more special, and that 2 hours is worth gold. So take advantage of the energy, the positive energy, the peaceful energy of family over this season. Enjoy the little things. One of the other things that I really like this time of year is we get out to run in the morning before it gets light, and I love people that leave their Christmas lights on overnight, and I get to see them in the morning. It's just a special time of the year. We don't have snow in Florida, but when I run and people's lights are on, it just makes this time of year very, very special. So enjoy the special things throughout the rest of this season and every day, because it just makes what can you do today to make life better all that more special. We have a $25 membership to our practice that you can access all our website with videos of exercise, recipes, nutrition cooking demonstrations, nutrition lectures. And it's a great holiday gift for people, but it's a great way to find out more about our practice. We're very candid on our nutrition lectures and our mobility videos, and I think they're very enjoyable. You can check it out. It's a great thing. Our ebook is still for sale if you want to get that for somebody that might enjoy a few good recipes to get them started on their health journey. Certainly we do consultations to help people, again, kind of transverse what therapy that they may want, or transverse what a new disease that they may have, or a new diagnosis, and how might they deal with it. You can always become a full member, but again, you can do consults either one time, or we do monthly coaching, both Addie and I, or just Addie, but it helps people stay on track. And sometimes it's nice to just talk to somebody about things that you hear on the news, people that, we always hear, they said this, they said that. So look at our website, drdulaney.com, and see if it's something that you might like. We would love to help you on your health journey. You're unique. You deserve time. You deserve patience. You deserve empathy. And you're not a number, and you're not just a billing code. So we don't approach it that way. And I would like to do my best to make up for all that bad health care out there. So we'd love to hear from you. Next episode is my 500th episode. If you want to shout out, give me an email. I'd love to shout out and give me a couple sentences about what your health journey has been. That's great. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I appreciate all of you for listening over the years. Sometimes I feel like I'm talking to the cat or the dogs or whatever, but it's nice to hear from people that listen to the podcast, and it's been very heartwarming. So thank you very much for listening as always. Get out and move your body, make your own food, and have a great rest of your week.